Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians, lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly of the beast, the liberal zombie apocalypse of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Joining me, as always, MAGA Jesse. How you doing there, buddy?
Doing good, yeah. We got a lot of important stuff to get into today. We'll be talking about Walz's poll numbers, which have dropped to an abysmal level. He is now more unpopular than he is popular. We'll talk about whether or not he's going to run for a third term and what some of these poll numbers tell us. We also just got news that the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that states are allowed to defund Planned Parenthood. I've just got a new article out on that, so we'll discuss that.
And you research this stuff, too, so you put an article out. I haven't even been able to look at this yet, so this is breaking to me, too.
Yep,
it just came out like a couple hours ago.
And we'll also be talking about Vance Boelter, some updates we have. His phone has been found, and there is a statement from his wife that is now public, so we'll talk about that. We will also get into Rhino Ron Kresha, who has constituents of his who are accusing him of falsifying business records in order to collect hundreds of thousands of dollars in PPP loans. So we'll discuss the details surrounding that, and we might get into some Israel-Iran stuff at the end. I see we've already got Tucker91 and JM Teddy, so nice to see you guys, and feel free to leave a Rumble rant if you want to make sure that your topic is jumped to right away.
Okay, so running the dials is always Mr. Deep State himself, Dawson. How you doing, Dawson?
I'm doing good. I'm smelling that pork butt in the back. I'm getting very hungry.
There's so much going on today. It's your last show.
It is.
Moving on to other things, not better things. You know how they always say better things, but definitely not better things.
I'm gonna start a family. I couldn't be more excited about it.
I'm excited about that. I think we should encourage young families to reproduce, right? So we'll miss you, Dawson.
We'll miss you
Don't
too.
be a stranger when you come back to town. If you ever do, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't keep me away from Minneapolis right now.
You know what? I got a new job for you. You'll be our field reporter on the case of Nicole Mitchell, because that's where it'll be, Detroit Lakes.
That sounds great. I'll definitely do that.
We got pork butt in the back. I was up all night cooking that. Founders Club event tonight for those that are joining. I saw the K-Wall and T-Wall might be coming tonight, which will be fascinating. So much to get into here. Let's start with our sponsors, John Galt Mortgage Company. Now, if you're buying a home, you could go to anyone. You go to all the big banks to get it financed. They don't believe what you believe in, but John Galt Mortgage Company believes in the things that you believe in. They put that out there on X and on Facebook. They got the top-notch mean game, but, they really started this company not just to be a mortgage company, a regular mortgage company, but to also, pass on the views of limited government and freedom. And so that's what I love about John Galt Mortgage Company. You go to johngaltmortgage.com. If you're looking to purchase a home and you want to finance that, go to johngaltmortgage.com. We're brought to you by Alpine Cabtree in the great city of St. Cloud, Minnesota. We're also today brought to you by Elite Guardian, mn.com. Elite Guardian, a new company I started up. Very slow launch, just so you know. With all that extra time I got in the world, I got about 4 different irons in the fire. But this one, the first thing that we're offering is something called a concealed carry and home defense course. But by the way, could you think of any reason you'd want to take a home defense course right now? Okay. This is actually USCCA certified. This is a great company or a great organization. Delta Defense, I think, is the company that works with them. They got great material. So what I do is I'm certified through them. So I use their material, and this is their booklet. It goes for about $35 online. I sell them at the class cheaper if you go to the class. You can go to LeagueGuardianMN.com to sign up for my next class, which is July 11th. Because of that, we are doing a giveaway today. Look at this. USCCA, I just had a rep give me a new bag like this. They call it a tactical backpack. Mm-hmm. You know what this is? This is actually what I call a get-home bag, or some people call it a bug-out bag. Mm-hmm. For every $1 Rumble Rant today, if you've never done a Rumble Rant, now's the day to do it. We will enter your name for a giveaway. If you want this sweet-ass tactical backpack / get-home bag / bug-out bag from USCCA, every $1 Rumble Rant, if you're on Rumble watching this live, we will put you in for the entry, and I think, Dawson, we can give this away at the end of the show. So, looking forward to that.
Just a couple quick comments. Tucker91 says, best wishes for you, Dawson. We're going to miss the deep state, so some good wishes to you. And then I see we've got Adamson1917 says, Walz is an idiot. He needs to go from a Minnesota resident. I believe you're a new viewer, at least during the live shows, so we appreciate you tuning in. And if feel free to have the comments keep rolling in.
Yeah, and I feel so bad. That was the longest intro. I'm always like, don't give a long intro. You got to get into the material. Sorry, I had a lot of things to talk about. So let's get down to it. Tim Walz not doing well in Minnesota. This is the A1 Dawson. This is according to Star Tribune. Just so you guys know, it's not like the Star Tribune is anti-Walz. I mean, if you would find a media outlet that is pro-Walz, like anyone that's more pro-Walz than Star Tribune, I don't know what it would be. Other than just like the straight up left-wing rags like Blue Stem Prairie or something like that, right? Because the actual what do they call him? The president, CEO? What do they call Groves now?
Oh, I don't know.
What is he at Star Tribune? He runs the Star Tribune.
Sure.
He was on Walz's administration. So like literally the head of the Star Tribune, not the owner, because the owner is Glenn Taylor, the former owner of the Minnesota T-Wolves. So he runs the paper. I mean, this is not like a very critical paper of Tim Walz. According to the Star Tribune in their own polling, Tim Walz, for the first time, I think since they polled, has a lower approval rating than disapproval. Now let's go ahead and put this up here, Dawson. We can go to
Right,
the
this
poll.
is a surprising headline, like you're saying, from the Star Tribune, because it's not just the poll numbers, but even the headline itself. And obviously, they chose an unflattering picture of Tim Walz for the headline picture there. So it is interesting to see that even the left-wing Star Tribune is willing to start to distance themselves from Tim Walz, and they're seeing that a third term might not be in the cards for Timmy here.
Yeah, so when we get into the crosstabs, we'll actually kind of go through what I think is the reason people don't really want him to run again. Dawson, can you pull this down? I don't want just a headline. Let's go look at the first graph here. It shows, there we go. So this is his approval versus disapproval over time. And then the other thing that's so fascinating, like we know who Tim Walz is, but I think a lot of people in Minnesota didn't know him. I don't know how you get through COVID and don't know who he is, but maybe somewhere. I mean, I guess look at that. Can you zoom in on that chart there, Dawson? I guess it says yeah, look. That does make sense.
Kinda.
Scroll up a little bit. Oop.
Goodness.
Oh. Okay, you can see this is like basically March of 2020. The not sure about Tim Walz drops precipitously because I think all of a sudden, it was almost 20% of people were unsure about Tim Walz. Then everyone had an opinion of Tim Walz.
Right.
And then you do see his disapproval starts going up, which is a wonderful thing. That's when we started to learn who the hell Tim Walz was. But it never got above 50%, right? I think maybe KSTP once showed it, but definitely not the Star Tribune. And the Star Tribune, oh, no, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, they used the Hubbard School of Journalism. I didn't want to get it confused with Hubbard Broadcasting, which would have been KSTP. Okay, so Star Tribune's poll. And so for the first time, as you can see, in June of 2025, his approval drops to 49% and his disapproval to 50%. That's wonderful. I think it should be far less approval, but we'll take that win. Let's go down, Dawson, and let's look at actually the crosstabs at the bottom of this poll, because this is where it gets really interesting. It'll be all the way to the bottom. You'll see a breakout of the demographics here. The first one is, do you approve? Oh, by the way, I should say this. Details about the poll was conducted. You could go to the Star Tribune's website to see it, but it's 800 respondents. And then, of course, this is all throughout Minnesota, and they asked for political identity. Do you see what I'm saying, Dawson, at the bottom of that article?
Is it like all the way at the bottom?
All the way to the bottom. Are you stuck?
Yeah, let me try to.
Yeah, just refresh and do
skip
your
past
magic there. It didn't do that on mine. I have no idea sometimes how these things work. There we go. Perfect. Okay. All right. So, according to people that approve of Tim Walz's job performance, I mean, this is just so fascinating in my book, how this whole thing works out. 77% of people in Hennepin County approve of Tim Walz, and only 22% disapprove of him. His support, the guy that's, oh shucks, Mr. Farmer Agricultural Area Congressman from CD1, Tim Walz, his mass support comes from the metro area where clearly the Democrats all exist, right? If you look at the rest of the metro, okay, so, and if you're not from Minnesota, Ramsey County is essentially just St. Paul. Hennepin County is Minneapolis, but it does kind of reach in the outer skirts of the West Metro, so it's not technically all Minneapolis. I know people in Hennepin County that are very solid red areas. I don't know any solid red areas in Ramsey County. Can you think of any? I can't think of any.
I don't know.
So Ramsey is very blue. Hennepin County's got the hardcore blue part of the state, but there are like some red fringes on it. Anyhow, so the rest of the metro, so when you get in like the Anoka County, Washington County where I live, Dakota County, Scott County, the ones that circle the 7-county metro, so the 5 counties that surround it, you're looking at 39% approval for Tim Walz and 60% disapproval. Once again, not sure. Everything is like basically below 2%, which is crazy. All right, southern Minnesota, where Tim Walz is, served in Congress for over a decade, was 35% approval, 64% disapproval, and then northern Minnesota, the heart of Minnesota, as I would say, is 34% approval and 66% disapproval. They don't like him up north. We know that very well. Adam, 1917, I'll say is not in favor of him. His radicalism is by far off the rails. Yes, exactly. Yes, and people learn more and more about him. All right, here's another one that's interesting. Men, 37% approve, 62% disapprove. Okay, let me do some mansplaining. I understand that one, right, Jesse? We get that. Like, most guys look at Tim Walz and we go, look at this douchebag. Like, this guy is such a lying sack of you-know-what, right? We would never want him, like, hanging around, like, our hunting party or whatever the hell you want to. I just said that when he was, like, doing that hunt, and he didn't know how to use the shotgun. I'm like, no one I know that hunts would want this bozo in their hunting party, right?
Right.
Okay. So that I understand the bro universe of why they would disapprove. But his support for women is 60% and only 39% disapprove. I would love, and in the comment section, I would love if, like, we could get a woman that could look past maybe their bias and tell us what the hell explains that one. Like, what do women see in that guy? Because I kind of still think they would see that creepy guy. Dawson, you're more
abortion.
Is
some
it
of
just
these women
abortion?
want we have some of the most radical abortion laws in the country with post-birth abortion. So, for whatever reason, that's the driving factor for women, and that's one of their top voting issues.
I guess so. That does make sense. Plus, when you look at support by age group, you're seeing 55% of 18 to 34-year-olds support Walz, 45% disapprove. When you get to 65, actually the biggest group disapproving of him is 50 to 64-year-olds. 42% approve, 56% don't approve.
TA1022 says he's so feminine. So that could explain for why the women are so in love with Tim Walz. They love a weak man.
I don't think they do, though. I think women really do like masculine men.
Yeah, maybe not as their political leaders.
Maybe the kind of women that answer polls are the ones that like effeminate men.
Maybe. And yeah, just a couple details on the poll. I was just
can I just insert something real quick?
Yeah.
Like the women fantasy books and, whatever else. I was going to say movies. Once you start seeing the Tim Walz kind of figure on the front of those, then you might have a point. But they're still going for the Fabios, right? I know I'm dating myself a little bit with you guys on that one, but that just doesn't make sense to me. Sorry, go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I looked at the methodology section on the Star Tribune's website there, and just so people have some of the details on this poll, it was conducted from June 16th to June 18th with a 3.5% margin of error. 800 people were called, or I should say 800 people participated in the poll. 28% were landline, 72% were cell phone, and the breakdown by party is 36% Democrat, 31% GOP, 33% independent. And considering that Minnesota does have, we don't have party registration, but we have more self-identified Democrats than we have self-identified Republicans, so it makes perfect sense that they would include more Democrats in this poll. And since they have seemingly done that work and made sure that all the boxes were checked there, it would make this poll even more accurate. And the fact that Tim Walz is dropping below 50% in approval is not a good sign for him.
All right. Dawson, scroll down. The second question they asked is Tim Walz is considering seeking a third consecutive term as governor, which is a rarity. Do you feel he should or should not run for a third term? You can see in overall respondents. Oh, what happened to the overall respondents? All is only 45% say he should run. So he loses 4% of people that approve of him and then say that he shouldn't run for another term. If I could venture a guess here, I think the big answer here, Dawson, if you could just scroll back up to the first question, you see how under DFL, it says DFL and lean DFL, he has 92% approval and 7% disapproval. And then when you look at that same breakdown, should he run again, only 84% say he should run again. You see that? And I think that makes sense. You might think Tim Walz has done a good job, but you think it's now a woman's time, or a minority's time to be the governor of Minnesota, something like that. I could understand a Democrat saying, I think he's done a good job, but I don't think he should run again. We were commenting on Blois Olson, which is a reporter for basically at the Capitol. It's pretty much all the swamp creatures, that read his newsletter and the people that are probably really tuned in, and all the politicians, right? And in his poll, it showed 67% thought he shouldn't run again. Did I have that right?
Yeah, I think so.
And so we thought, well, look, it's probably a bunch of Democrats as well on there. I mean, the Republicans are going to say that, but Democrats are like, I don't want this guy. I want Peggy Flanagan now. Tim Walz is at his time. We got a Rumble rant.
Yeah, we got a $5 Rumble rant. We got two of them. So I'll start with Tucker91. He says Hennepin Ramsey can't see the embarrassment that Walz has been for Minnesota because they can't see the embarrassment that they themselves are. That's a good point. And we got Righty with another $5 Rumble rant saying some women think they can change a gay guy to straight. So perhaps that's another reason. So, to remind people, those $5 Rumble rants are now going to be entered into the giveaway for that bag.
Right
Each
there.
of you now have 5 opportunities to be entered in. $1 Rumble rant gives you an entry. So each of you now have 5 entries in this giveaway here.
Yes, and if you win, you're gonna have to email me so I can get your mailing instructions. But this thing, perfect to put in your vehicle. A lot of attachments too, right? All over. Great Molly system. Great color. Love it. You can use it for whatever you want, hunting. I don't know. I call them get home bags. I'm a prepper. There ain't no bugging out for me. I mean, I've gone through scenarios of bugging out, but like I got family, like it's more than likely me getting home. So I call them get home bags. Perfect for all that stuff. Get all your. Actually, maybe I should send people. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put in this bag my recommended list. What's in my bug out bag. I'm gonna put that in here. So you'll get the best guide to what you should put in your bug out bag / get home bag. Depends on what part. Like you're like a bug out guy, right? I'm a get home guy.
Yeah, sure.
Depends on the part in your life. Dawson soon will be a get home bag guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
One last thing I want to say on this poll is that it's interesting that even some of the Democrats are saying it's time to move on because it mentioned in that Star Tribune article that the last governor in Minnesota to try to run for a third term was Rudy Perpich, who was a Democrat who ran for a third term in 1990, and he lost. So there is a certain dissatisfaction that comes with being a career politician. People say your time is up. You've had your chance. You've had 2 terms. And since, that's what it's limited to for president, oftentimes people think it should be limited the same way for governor. And also, Walz's approval, of course, is tied to his attempts to get on the national stage and his VP performance. And a lot of Minnesotans said they didn't know how radical and extreme he was, and they didn't know anything about the China connections, and they didn't know anything about Tim Walz until he ran for VP. So now that all that information is out there, Tim Walz is definitely taking a dip, and he hasn't benefited from more exposure.
All right, let's go to your breaking article here. We didn't even have this in a segment, so let's keep a tab on Walz poll numbers.
Yep.
This is a brand spanking decision by the Supreme Court. And just for people to understand, Supreme Court is in that time frame where they actually start announcing a bunch of decisions, right? Mm-hmm. Usually going into July, I think, if I remember right. Infamously, what's it, 3 years ago, they decided on the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Mm-hmm. So here's one of the decisions that came out today. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, Dawson, go ahead and pull up the A2 on the sheet there. A pervasive lie that has been told over and over again by Minnesota's Rhino establishment is claims that taxpayer dollars must fund Planned Parenthood and abortion. This blatant lie has been providing cover for rhino legislators who vote for this spending against the interests of their constituents. This falsehood now holds no credibility, as the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that states can reject spending Medicaid dollars going to Planned Parenthood. The ruling was 6-3, with Justices John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett voting in favor, and Justices Ketanji Brown Jackson, Alina Kagan, and Sonia Sotomayor voting in opposition. Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote the majority opinion of the court. Justice Clarence Thomas wrote a concurring opinion in support of the majority ruling, and Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson wrote the dissenting minority opinion. If people want to read that full opinion, it's linked right there. In the last regular legislative session for the state of Minnesota, 29 state house rhinos voted for taxpayer funding of abortion and Planned Parenthood in the Health Omnibus Bill, which was HF 2435. No GOP senator in the Senate voted for this bill. And between the lines of all the regulation, policy, and billions in spending within the 263-page bill is abortion funding under the guise of medical assistance. Planned Parenthood is also funded in the bill through sexual and reproductive grants, family planning awards, and the temporary assistance for needy families. And I attached the House vote as well so people can see which of the rhinos were the ones who voted for this money. And then GOP Chair Alex Plekish attempted to cover for the rhinos who voted for abortion and Planned Parenthood funding by claiming that taxpayer-funded abortion is, quote, not because of any vote by Republicans. Many other rhino politicians have pushed the same lie by saying that they have no choice to include the funding, or they just flat out deny that abortion is funded through the legislature. Even the fake pro-life group, MCCL, has pushed these lies and fought against Senator Nathan Weissenberg from legislatively defining life at conception. Senator Weissenberg also disproved the lie that legislators couldn't fight the funding of abortion by pushing an amendment that would defund abortion and Planned Parenthood. Also bear in mind, Minnesota has some of the most extreme laws in the country on abortion, including post-birth abortion. The excuses for rhinos to keep spending tax dollars killing unborn babies are gone. Former State Representative Jeremy Munson eloquently made this point on social media. And as we can see here, Jeremy Munson said, "Hey, MNGOP House, Minnesota Senate Victory Fund," and he tags all of them. Your excuse that we have to force Minnesota taxpayers to fund the killing of children may not hold water anymore. Time to get in the trenches and buckle up." And that's a great point. The Supreme Court decision confirmed what constitutional conservatives already knew. Legislators are not obligated to spend taxpayer dollars funding abortion. Action for Liberty celebrates this massive victory for life in the U.S. Supreme Court and calls on the GOP State House and Senate caucuses to remove all abortion and Planned Parenthood funding during the next legislative session. We, the people, will not accept any more excuses. The GOP must step up, or voters will see them for the spineless sellouts that they truly are.
So I always argue that despite it's without doubt that they're supporting, or they're funding abortion before a decision like this, right? By passing that bill. That's undeniable. It's very disingenuous for groups like MCCL or politicians to say, we have to. Like, you don't have to. You could vote against the bill. Then it gets into the argument, and we saw Walter Hudson, Wednesday Walter, say this. Oh, you want to shut down the government. Well, then we'll lose all races, which is just conjecture. You don't know that, right?
Right.
So, but it's like, if you're pro-life, wouldn't you think it's valuable to shut down the government until we get this thing right? Wouldn't you say that the higher principle is to, make sure babies aren't killed, okay? You would think that would be the argument. Of course, the thing that we've learned very much over the years and a lot recently, right, Jesse, that this really is one big club, and they just want the status quo to continue on, right? Mm-hmm. So...
And you're right. We didn't even really need the Supreme Court to say this, because this is all stuff that we already knew.
Yeah, but the Supreme Court now would say that if the legislature, because this was the contention, it was either you vote for the medical assistance funding in entirety or you don't.
Right.
And we would say, then you don't. Because then you can't fund abortion.
Right, then you vote against the entire health bill. Now
you could do the provision that says, hey, this is amended like Weissenberg had.
Right. Yep, exactly.
Which had 100% Republican support.
In the
which
Senate.
Just totally deteriorates the argument by MCCL and the establishment that if this doesn't fund abortion, then why did all Republicans in the Senate vote for Weissenberg's amendment?
Right.
Which, of course, didn't pass in the Democrat Senate.
Right.
So yes, this is 100% a great case here. I'm glad that the Supreme Court has decided on this.
Yep, and you're right that every single Republican senator voted for his amendment. They knew that they were being called out on the carpet, and they knew that they were going to be watched by voters when that vote came, and so they all fell in line. They all voted with Weissenberg against abortion funding. Meanwhile, we see in the House, we've got Josh Heinzman. Meanwhile, his wife in the Senate is voting to defund abortion. He's voting to fund Planned Parenthood and abortion. So you can't even trust Republicans in office. And even if they're married to another legislator, they might not even vote the same on some of the most critical issues of our time.
She's more pro-life than Josh, isn't she?
So far.
Or it's just a big show, and none of these guys really care about what they're doing. There's very few that do.
Yep.
All right, this next part of the show is brought to you by John Galt Mortgage Company. Oh, we got a Rumble rant. Incognito gets on the board here.
All right, yeah, $5 Rumble rant from Incognito says, women feel sorry for people more readily. It's a mothering instinct, bless their hearts. Unfortunately, they feel sorry for criminals that have brought their problems onto themselves. Walz does that too. So that could be one explanation.
All right, Incognito's got 5 entries into the bug out / get home bag giveaway, which I'm going to also put in my list of, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to put something else in there too. I'm going to give you my list that should be in your get home bag, but I'm going to put something else in there. Something that now you won't have to buy. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit. I'm going to give you one thing that's in my bug out bag that you'll appreciate. So there you go. You get this bug out bag courtesy USCCA, which is also happens to be the same organization that I teach the concealed carry home defense fundamentals class, which also is good for your Minnesota permit to carry. If you're renewing or you've never gotten it before, you could take that class and then you can give your certification to your local sheriff, and that allows you to get your permit to carry.
Really quick. Every entry, I'm putting it into a little fun wheel so that at the end of the show we'll give it a spin, and then there you go.
Oh, that's how we're gonna do it?
Yeah.
Oh, so when I keep putting like 5 for each one,
well, it's good to keep track, but I'm also keeping track here. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is really cool. How's it?
Isn't that cool?
So then this thing just spins by itself.
Yep, and then you shuffle all the names up, and then give it a spin like this.
So there you go. That is so cool. All right, interesting. All right, well, every $1 entry gets you on that thing. Just FYI. Okay, so you could do a Rumble rant for $1. I guess everyone likes 5. 5's a good amount too. Whatever. All right. Thank you so much. This next part of the show is brought to you by John Galt Mortgage Company. Go to johngaltmortgage.com. If you're looking to buy a home, go to John Galt Mortgage. Have them finance that home. Hey, give them a chance. johngaltmortgage.com. Okay, let's get you an update on the Vance Boelter Minnesota political assassinations. How cool is it that Liz Collin was on Tucker Carlson? Right?
Yeah, it was pretty.
I mean, I know you guys don't like Tucker these days, right, Jesse?
Cuckoo Tucker.
Cuckoo Tucker.
Yeah. No, it's all right. I haven't watched it yet, but yeah, from what I've heard, she did a good job.
I didn't
know.
Got
a $10 Rumble rant from O'Bannon saying, "Has there been any polling on Kendall's prospects?" And that's a good question, but I don't know if I have seen anything about Kendall Qualls even listed as a potential Republican candidate against Walz. But yeah, no. So I would guess the answer is no.
Yeah, it's pretty early for internal polls. And yeah, it's pretty early for them to do other polls. I'm gonna imagine most people don't know who the heck he is.
Right.
We have 3 people in this race so far. Actually 4 if you include Jeff Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Not the Jeff Johnson that ran before. So, I just remembered Tim Pellini didn't run for a 3rd consecutive, but he did come back and try to run in 2018 and got his butt clobbered in the primary.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So O'Bannon is in the entry for this get home or bug out. Depends on your part in life. Get home or bug out. Same thing. Just depends on where your priorities are when shit hits the fan. God, don't you just love it? I am unfortunately going to be the guy that has a little bit of a smile on my face during the zombie apocalypse. As terrible as that sounds, because I was prepped for it. Which, by the way, let's just hope the zombie apocalypse never happens. As a prepper, it's just like there's so many things that can go wrong. I have a brother, I have friends in Dallas, Texas, and they lost power for a week for like a freak ice storm. Like, you know how much that put out people in Dallas? I think they had a must boil warning on the water. Like, that puts people out. And then, of course, a must boil water, and then people have no power. And then they're like, well, I wasn't prepared for that. That's why you prep, right? Okay. Speaking of preppers, that was another thing that I want to talk about Vance Boelter. Oh, he's a prepper. Better watch out for those preppers. It's ridiculous. You know, the other one that's ridiculous is he's a Republican. You know, I don't usually quote Emily Gruenhagen a lot, Jesse, but I actually thought it was a good post. Her husband's a senator of Sibley County. They're very active in Sibley County politics, and no one's ever heard of the guy.
Right. She said something along the lines that she had either been the chair or the deputy chair or some role within Sibley County's Republican Party for the last number of decades. I think she said 20 some odd years. And she said she had never seen or heard of Vance Boelter before. So that is useful information because it shows that he really wasn't attached to any local Republican politics.
Right. All right, and actually really attached to politics at all, like we've said, you know, and this is another thing about Liz calling on Tucker's show, is that, I mean, they stand by that hit list. They're the only ones that got this hit list. They're the only ones that reported on it. So apparently they stand by, they had a hit list given to them by law enforcement, and on that hit list are literally, as we went through, Kerry Dietzich, who is not even alive today. Like, this guy doesn't even know who's in the legislature, so it's insane. I still think that the official narrative does line up, but there's still holes. So let's go through the new things. This is on KARE 11. Vance Boelter's cell phone was found at Home Depot in Fridley. He worked at U of M iDonation Bank. Hundreds of pages of newly filed search warrants reveal more new details in the investigation of lawmaker shooting. This is according to Lou Raguse. Before Vance Boelter was arrested in a field near his Green Isle home the day after the murder of Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, police were chasing another lead. According to a search warrant affidavit, Boelter turned off his cell phone right after the murder. The next day, it turned back on, and officers began tracing its location. As they were closing in, hoping to arrest the suspect, they received a tip that the phone was at the Home Depot in Fridley, where workers were trying to find its owner. Dawson, let's do this real quick, because I know we have people that aren't from Minnesota, and maybe this has been more interesting to people because of Liz's thing on Tucker Carlson. Because I really think it's good to have a map up. So let's pull up a Google Maps. And then, okay, so you can hover over, well, let's just start with Champlin. So go up north of Brooklyn Park there. So up there, yeah, right in that area. Champlin, yep, to the left. That's where the first hit occurs, which is unsuccessful in killing both John and Yvette Hoffman. Then he goes over to Maple Grove, which is southwest of there. That legislator's not there. That's right there on the loop, just right there where the 694 and 94 loop comes there. You see that right there. All right. You want to hover over it. Doesn't, yeah, perfect. So that's Maple Grove. Zoom out again. Then he goes down to New Hope, Center and Rest Home. You see New Hope on the map. And I think, just so you understand, these are like 5-mile distances. These are not far. And then he goes up to Brooklyn Park. So then he goes north. By the way, there's an hour unaccounted for in between that. Okay. He then leaves Brooklyn Park. He leaves the home of Melissa Hortman and on foot goes down to basically northern Minneapolis. So it's kind of on the bottom of that map. Now, you see where Fridley is? Fridley is to the right of Brooklyn Park. It's just on the other side of the river. In fact, I think the Home Depot is right off at 694, if I remember right.
I'm pretty sure that's the Home Depot that I go to most.
Yeah, I would imagine that is. Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
Or am I thinking of Menards? Home Depot or Menards? Actually, I can picture both of them. Somewhere right there. So I think it's south of 694. So there you go. All kind of in that same area. I just think that's interesting for people that aren't from this area that can visualize it. I say out of the state. I mean, technically, we have a lot of people watching from greater Minnesota. It's probably good to have a geographic lesson here of the cities, because why do you care about where all these things are? It's usually Minneapolis, St. Paul. That's about it. Maybe you know some of the outskirt towns. Okay, according to search warrant affidavit, Boelter turned off his cell phone right after the murder. The next day, turned back on, and officers began tracing his location. As they're closing and hoping to arrest the suspect, they received a tip that the phone was at Home Depot in Fridley, where workers were trying to find its owner. Another search warrant reveals Boelter's wife's reaction when first contacted by investigators. Quote, Jenny Boelter initially was not forthcoming with knowledge of her husband being involved in something serious. End quote. The warrant says, when told he was a person of interest in a shooting, she initially asked, why would you think that? Before finally admitting Boelter sent her those ominous text messages about, quote, going to war and telling her to leave town. We've talked about that on the show. He said, basically, Daddy's done something bad. Daddy had to go to war. There are going to be some people that show up at the house, basically get out of town. Court papers say Jenny Boelter waited for police in Onamia, where they found in her car a safe, the whole family's passports, $10,000 in cash, and 2 guns, and was carrying out the family's so-called bailout plan, as they were preppers who prepare for catastrophic incidents. Still, she has not been charged with a crime. Okay, Dawson, go back to
one thing that was not told correctly in the media at first was they said that her and her family were pulled over. Reporting I've seen since then has said that she met the police officers at the gas station. She got there before them, and then that's when the police officers talked with her. So it doesn't sound as, I guess we'll still have to see, but the word now is that they were not pulled over and that it was a planned interaction between her and the police.
I don't put much into that because in the initial chaos of these kind of things, reporting is all over the place. So, I don't put much into that, you know what I'm saying? Dawson, go to Green Isle, which is southwest of the cities. I think we could probably find it without you looking it up. Yeah, zoom out. It's going to be a little, keep zooming out. Zoom out. Just type it in, Green Isle. Not that far away, but Green Isle, Minnesota. So you see there it is. Zoom out again so you just get a perspective of the Twin Cities. Isn't he fantastic? On the fly. There we go. Okay, so you can see roughly it's reported, I haven't driven this, but it's an hour outside of Minneapolis. Okay, that's the property he owned. That's where he was eventually found. Sounds like he was trying to get some cash on his property, and it was surrounded. And then someone reported seeing some guy in the field, and that's how they zoomed in on him. Okay, type in Onamia so we can show people where that's at. This is where his wife, Jenny Boelter, and kids were found. Scroll out. Okay, you're going to see he made it all the way up to Mille Lacs area. Okay. If you're not from Minnesota, that's one of the big lakes. Very controversial. Based off of the DNR's constant fight with fishermen on walleye possessions there. So there you go. She made it all the way up there, which would probably be, without traffic, about a 2-hour drive, I'm assuming. Maybe a little bit more than that. Okay. Hey, continue on. This is Care 11. Boelter's first phone call after shootings was to his 18-year-old son, although the search warrant doesn't reveal what he told the young man, and that was news to us. Other nuggets of information in the new documents include that a U.S. bank employee proactively called investigators to let them know Boelter was there at 9 a.m. right when they opened withdrawing money. We've reported this before. He withdrew $2,200, cleared out an account, spent $900 on what I would imagine a hot e-bike and a hot car that was probably just carjacked that night. And another twist to Boelter's convoluted work history, court papers say he was employed by the U of M, which confirms he was a technician at the iDonation Bank up until the day before the shootings. And when they say the day before the shootings, what they're actually referring to is essentially he was a current employee because Friday he probably worked, he was still employed there, and he committed these acts overnight. You follow me? So it's like, I mean, what did they? Was it like temporary? I don't know what that means, but it's like it literally was like hours later. He is committing these atrocious acts. Did you say
you went to, or you were at the U of M at some point? Do you know what an iDonation bank is?
Yes, I do. Go to Alpha News. They actually have an article about this.
Maybe it's just because I didn't use a lot of the facilities because of COVID when I was there, but I have no idea what this
Actually,
is.
Dawson, I've got it pulled up here. Oh, there you go. See it to the right? Right there. Perfect.
Oh,
okay, so
I thought it was like iDonation, like a iPhone.
Oh, no. Okay, so suspect Vance Boelter extracted eyeballs to the U of M until day before political assassinations. Just one day before, let's get past that. We all know the story here. Okay, from the morgue to a manhunt. Belter's role at the University of Minnesota followed a series of jobs in the funeral industry. Wolf Funeral Homes confirmed Boelter worked there for just over a year, ending in October 2024 with no disciplinary history. Metro First Call said Boelter worked for the company from August 2023 until he left voluntarily in February. We would like to extend our thoughts and condolences to the families of Representative Hortman and Senator Hoffman, owner Tim Koch said in a statement. To say anything more at this time would be irresponsible for the investigation. Continues. In a video posted prior to the killings, Boelter described his work removing bodies from crime scenes and natural death locations under contract with the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office. Our role, this is a quote, this is from his video, our role is to just take the descendant from that place of death to the medical examiner's office, he said, noting he works 6 days a week between two funeral homes. All right, this answers your question. What does a recovery technician do? A current job listing for the job title Boelter held at the University of Minnesota Duluth Area Recovery Technician states that roughly 75% of the job is dedicated to eye tissue recoveries. Other responsibilities include responding to donor death notifications and traveling to hospitals or funeral homes. According to the U of M, Boelter's pay started at $20 an hour and increased to $30 after he obtained certification recovering donor eye tissue from the deceased. The university described the position as limited temporary technician role.
That's really funny. I was reading that job and I was like, I couldn't do that. That sounds nasty. And I saw $30 an hour. Well, okay, well, nasty. Yuck.
Okay. We have a statement, of course, according to Seth Kaplan, this is the B2 Dawson, from Jenny Boelter, probably in response to this. It was the big question. In fact, we're still looking into, was she the one that worked for Tim Walz? Once again, we're just trying to get to the bottom of everything. I'm not suggesting any conspiracy outside the official narrative. The official narrative sounds right. Some wackadoodle somehow decided he was going to carry out this crazy political killing without much research, without really much understanding, but something flipped in his brain to the point where I don't even believe the contents of his letter to Kash Patel, where he says Tim Walz sent him essentially to kill Amy Klobuchar so the Senate seat was open. That's another thing, FYI, on that first story. It's possible Tim Walz would get involved in a Senate race. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but he could run for higher office. You know what I think, Jesse? I don't think I told you this before. Who's to say he's not shopping around like MSNBC and other outlets, CNN, to get some good paid gig?
Right.
That keeps him relevant in the national news, for the next 4 years, so he could run for some higher office, president.
Yeah.
Jeez. Imagine him as president. Ugh. All right, this is Seth Kaplan with Fox 9. Says, just received a statement from Jenny Boelter, the wife of Vance Boelter. Her husband is accused of shooting and killing the Hortmans and shooting and injuring the Hoffmans. I don't know if this means he got it or it was a press release sent out to all media. Sounds like it was written by a lawyer. This is a quote here. On behalf of my children and myself, I want to express our deepest sympathies to the Hortman and Hoffman families. Our condolences are with all who are grieving during this unimaginary difficult time, and we're praying daily for them. We're absolutely shocked, heartbroken, and completely blindsided. This violence does not at all align with our beliefs as a family. It is a betrayal of everything we hold true as tenets of our Christian faith. We are appalled and horrified by what occurred, and our hearts are incredibly heavy for the victims of this unfathomable tragedy. From the moment we were first contacted by law enforcement, we have fully cooperated with investigators and responded to their every request. On the morning of June 14th, 2025, I received a call from law enforcement and immediately drove to meet agents at a nearby gas station. Right? That's what you mentioned, Jesse, which is contrary to some of the initial reporting that she got pulled over. We were not pulled over. We parked and waited until they arrived. When they did, we voluntarily agreed to meet with them, answer any questions, provide all items they requested, and cooperate with all searches. We were grateful for the diligent and professional efforts of the authorities to fully investigate these crimes. We thank law enforcement for apprehending Vance and protecting others from further harm. Okay, Let's read that Rumble rant, and then I got my opinion on this.
Yeah, we got a $5 Rumble rant from Brad Ganser. He says the narrative that the No Kings killer was a MAGA extremist is easily disputed. The last Democrat they would go after is Hoffman, and I don't know if I've seen any further explanation on the No Kings flyers that are out there. And Brad Ganser also says Jesse is a MAGA extremist. Did you know Boelter? No, I didn't know him, but. It does seem that this guy was on the right. His roommate said that he was a Trump supporter, so I don't know how much that can be dismissed. But, there still really is no good explanation that I've seen quite yet on why he had all of those No Kings flyers in his car.
I mean, what does it mean if he's on the right?
I don't think it matters.
I don't think it matters unless it matters if it's a problem that goes beyond one nutcase, right? If it becomes a pattern, and that pattern does exist on the left, and I've warned on this show.
It's kind of gone on around the country too. There was something I saw in North Dakota where a guy had sent a threatening email to, I think it was a U.S. attorney, the district attorney for whatever area he was in, and he said, we don't want another Minnesota situation to happen, implying that he would go and kill these people. So, these types of events always encourage further crazies to take action, so it needs to be tampered down.
Well, in Minnesota, it certainly seems like it did that to a Democrat lobbyist, right?
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Didn't we cover that on the show? Have we not covered this on the show? The Woodbury lobbyist that was arrested?
I'm not
I can't remember.
with it.
Have we not? Did we really not? You guys know the story, right? There's a Dawson, just pull up.
I know what you're talking about. Yes, I did hear about that. You're saying the one that had sent a text message to Jim Nash. Right, yes.
Did we cover that on the show?
I don't know.
I would think so.
I don't think we did, but maybe we did, and I'm not remembering.
You know what? It came out on Thursday afternoon.
It doesn't
and
sound
then our
familiar
next
to
show
me.
would have been the Israel one.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Okay, you guys are familiar with the story, right? Let me know if you're not. Brad Ganser entered into the drawing. Get home. So for Brad, this would be a get home bag. Okay, he's got to get home to his lovely wife, and whatever kids he still has at home. Boy, Brad, you're getting old. They're all leaving the house, right? Or maybe it's a bug out bag. I'm just kidding. It's a get home bag for him. All right. So if he wins it, it's get home bag for Brad Ganser. It doesn't matter. All people that do Rumble Rants today, every dollar gets you an entry. Everyone's doing $5. Oh no, we had one $10. So looks like that person's got 10 entries. You got 10 entries for O'Bannon, right?
Yes, indeed. 30 entries total right now.
All right, there we go. So you got a 1 in 30 chance right now? No, everyone's at least got a 5 in 30 chance.
Don't ask me to do that math. I'm bad at it.
No, that's the math right there. 1 in 6 chance. At least everyone's got a 1 in 6 chance right now. Currently. And one person has a 1/3 chance if there's 30 entries.
Gross.
That's easy math, right?
Yuck.
I'll hate myself so much if I got that wrong.
I'm not that kind of Jewish.
But yeah, Tucker91 says no, we didn't cover the.
That's right, we did.
Right, and I
it came
think
out Thursday night.
Incognito is saying, I think this is in relation to that, saying, I've seen a picture of him and his wife. Her shirt says, I think, therefore I am a Democrat. And essentially what it was there was a text message allegedly sent to Jim Nash from this person that said that I can't wait to shoot you guys at the Capitol ahead of the No Kings protest. So that's what led to that gentleman's arrest.
Right.
Wow. Gross.
Now, I've said on this show, it's not just the left that can get radicalized and become violent. The right can too, and you got to be worried about that. And that's something I said a lot during Biden, because we got to be very careful what they're doing. You can only push people so far. And so, yeah, I would definitely say the rhetoric's got to tone down. But that's problematic in of itself. What does that mean, rhetoric? The MNGOP was basically shaming people for protesting outside the GOP headquarters. Well, people can't protest now? So is all rhetoric toned down? Boy, they're going to come after us real quick because we can't have an opinion anymore, right? So I'm very worried about that. But I don't think this event turned our opinion around on this thing. You do need to be careful about the violent overturn. So that certainly I agree with. And certainly if you get into politics and at some point you become radicalized where you want to become violent towards political figures, boy, start questioning if politics is the right thing for you, okay? Now, with that being said, that's pretty normal outside of America. You realize that most politics around the world is done that way. That's one of the things I love about America is we don't generally do it that way. We have a political process. And this is the thing that the left really was threatening under Biden. But I don't think the right gets off easy as well on this. If you give people a reason not to believe the political process works anymore, watch out. Because violence is how politics is done across the world. I mean, look at Africa. That's a great example. So if the political process breaks down, that's why I'm always going to be a supporter of the political process. I love this country. I love the constitutional republic. Let's keep it that way. Because, boy, I just want to see, it's like Trump, I want to see less people dying, right? I'm so pro-life. I care as much about the unborn as the innocent people in the Gaza Strip, right? Can't say the same thing about Netanyahu. Oh, we're not in that segment yet, are we? All right, let's go to this next segment, which is brought to you by EliteGuardianMN.com. If you need to learn about carrying a pistol in Minnesota, or if you want to learn how to protect your home from crazies, you can take my course, Elite Guardian. Go to EliteGuardianMN.com. You'll see Permit to Carry course right on the top. It's a USCCA course. They actually have a great book that corresponds to that course. And because they're awesome, we're giving away their bug out / get home bag for everyone that does a Rumble Rep. All right. You got an article. Tell me what's going on with Ron Kresha, Representative
Dawson,
Ron
let's
Kresha.
go ahead and pull up the C1 because a legislator on the House Fraud Committee has been presented evidence of PPP loan fraud by Representative Ron Kresha. Fraud has been rampant through. Fraud became rampant through the Paycheck Protection Program, which is PPP loans offered to businesses during the COVID era. While it is well known that many shady businessmen were caught falsifying business records and blatantly misrepresenting facts for their own PPP loans, locals in Morrison County are alleging that such actions were committed by their very own state representative, Rhino Ron Kresha. Locals and conservative activists brought forward evidence at a recent Morrison County GOP meeting to argue that Representative Ron Kresha received PPP loans with falsified records claiming to have employees when his company doesn't have any. The evidence was given to the other District 10 state representative, Isaac Schultz, to investigate as Schultz sits on the State House Fraud Committee. Kresha did not show up to the Morrison County meeting, despite being invited multiple times, according to the Morrison County Republican Party. Kresha was also condemned by Morrison County GOP due to his ultra-liberal voting record. According to the Department of Treasury, a company cannot list independent contractors as employees for the purpose of calculating their PPP loan amount. Instead, independent contractors were eligible to apply for their own PPP loans. Morrison County locals tell Action for Liberty that small business owners with dozens of employees in the community received loans that were peanuts in comparison to Kresha's company. Included in the documents presented to the 30 or so attendees of the Morrison County GOP meeting was given to Isaac Schultz were 2 PPP loans that were given to Ron Kresha's company, Golden Shovel Agency, LLC, which claims that the company had 17 employees in April of 2020 and 20 employees in March of 2021. And I show that below, so Dawson, go ahead and scroll down so people can see.
What is Golden Shovel Agency, LLC?
We'll get into that in a minute here. Okay. So, contrary to the employee counts seen above, as you can see there, listed as 17 and 20
Will you zoom in real
respectively.
quick, Dawson? I can't see this. Okay, thanks.
Yep. So, and as you'll see in the jobs reported, that's where you'll see the number of positions that number of employees that he claims he has. So, contrary to the employee count seen above, Ron Kresha stated in a November 2020
Okay,
deposition.
hold on one second. So what they're saying here, is that, and there was 2. Is there one ahead of this?
Yeah.
Go to the first one here, because there was 2 different rounds of PPP, if I remember right. Okay, so this is approved April 28th, 2020. 17 jobs reported. So payroll of 123,000. So if the loan amount, that's the loan amount. It's saying that it's 123,000 for payroll, which I don't remember how many months that was going to cover.
Right.
Okay.
And there's rent, and I got to look a little bit more at the deposition. I didn't include this in the article, but it's interesting that rent is included on that because from the deposition that we're going to get to in just a minute here, it also sounds as if Ron Kresha owns the building that this Golden Shovel Agency rents their space from. So,
well, that would make sense because the company is still renting, right? You know, if I was playing devil's advocate, boy, that seems like it'd be like, I'm just kind of doing some quick math here, maybe a month of payroll if you had 17 employees. I'm trying to remember. That probably is about what it was, though, at that point.
Yep.
We have a Rumble Rap from O'Bannon here.
Yeah, we got No Ban. Rumble Rant $5 says, are we talking about Kresha as a favorite of Liberty Longwind? When do we get more Tushy? So appreciate the Rumble Rant. And it's not just a favorite of Tushy. It's also because it's newsworthy and because people need to know this critical information. So we'll make sure that you're added on there. But contrary to what the employee counts are shown in those pictures there, Ron Kresha stated in a November 2020 deposition regarding a lawsuit with former associate Mary Whalen that the company had no employees at all and instead had about 15 independent contractors who were with them. Whalen was suing Kresha in relation to lost wages and intellectual property theft. More information on the lawsuit can be found in an article that I link. The questions, and as you'll see in this thing here, the questions, which are written as Q, is Whalen's attorney, and then the answers, the A, are Kresha's answers.
Scroll down, Dawson.
Scroll down a little bit, Dawson. We can see in this deposition the question from Mary Whalen's attorney.
Keep going.
Scroll down a little bit more.
And zoom. Yeah, there you go.
And we want to look at that yellow part there. So Mary Whalen's attorney asked him, and how many employees currently at the company? His answer, I have no employees. The question, how many non-employees working for your company? Specifically state what you mean by non-employee. His answer, specifically state what you mean by non-employees. Question, do you have any independent contractors working for the company? Answer, I do have independent contractors working for the company. Question, how many? Answer, approximately 15. Kresha then further states in the deposition that him hiring independent contractors and giving them titles for the company did not constitute those people as employees. So the question was, so giving a title to an independent contractor wouldn't make them an employee in your view, would it? Answer, no.
Scroll down. Is
scroll down. It's also linked in there.
Okay.
Answer, no. In fact, we do that now. All of the people with us are independent contractors, and they have that title that fits their role, so the people understand they're communicating within the confines of the company.
That does make sense. You do see that today, especially with small companies, marketing space. I do see that often. I know I've dealt with contractors, vendors, and stuff, so that's not uncommon.
Mm-hmm. Right, to give a title to an independent contractor.
Yeah, just because you're all harnessed inside.
Right.
And the idea here is an independent contractor can choose their own hours and stuff like that. You're basically, it's the way the world should work, in my opinion. Honestly, this whole employee thing is kind of goofy. It's like you want to be your own sovereign entity, right? And in that regard, then independent contractors are running their own like sole proprietorship, their own business, and then they could deduct expenses, right?
Yep.
Although they do have to pay their own full payroll taxes, the self-employment tax.
Right. So as you can see there, according to his own deposition, he doesn't have any employees, and that they are all independent contractors. And as previously stated, the Department of Treasury says that PPP loans were not allowed to calculate independent contractors as employees, and it would be fraud to do so. The statute of limitations to prosecute PPP loan fraud was extended in 2022 to become 10 years. In May 2024, Steve Wenzel, a well-respected longtime representative from Little Falls, called for Kresha to explain the acceptance and use of PPP loans in a letter to the editor. Many may wonder what Kresha's business, Golden Shovel Agency, LLC, actually does. While appearing to be a vague web development business consultant type company on their website, sources also say that they are involved in writing grants and collecting a percentage of the money that is claimed. This could be a massive conflict of interest for Kresha as a legislator because he sits on the Commerce and Education Finance Committees, where many grant programs within legislation would be approved. Kresha could very well be voting for bills in order to make money off of the grants found within them. And so, Dawson, where I say website there, in that paragraph above that, click that, and then I want you to click on the About section, then the team, our team. Let's go to that. This is something I didn't include in the article just because it's not as important to the story, but just so people know, go ahead and scroll down a little bit until we see Ron Kresha. And go ahead and zoom in there because they are using AI to enhance pictures of themselves on this website. And it's not just Kresha. I think that guy might be okay, but that is AI. I guarantee you that is AI. That is not a real picture of Ron Kresha. That looks like lizard skin. And it's definitely been AI'd. And so Go ahead and scroll down just so you can see there's other
I
examples.
think that's becoming a more common thing these days.
Right. Oh,
unfortunately.
yeah. I mean, Brad Kohler.
It makes me a little worried
whole
because it's
website's
like
AI.
Yeah, you could just create any name on a website and people be like, oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, they would buy
Like,
it.
They're not
right.
real people.
And yeah, as I was looking at some of the other people, it's obviously not just Kresha that they're trying to improve the looks of some of these women as well. So
What do you? Oh, that was a low blow. You don't know that.
yes, I do. I can tell that AI is being used on.
No,
some of
I'm
these.
saying to improve their looks.
Well, why else would they use AI to enhance their
Well,
pictures?
if one person does it, everyone else better do it. Otherwise, it looks really weird, doesn't it?
You know, maybe, but they all don't seem to.
okay,
do
that
it.
was
I only noticed
editorializing
it on
from-
certain people. So you know, I just found it interesting that they're using AI to enhance pictures of themselves. It just adds a layer of phoniness, you know, to these people. So.
What did they do though? I'm curious. What does it say about us?
You know, yeah, go ahead and go to their main page there, Dawson, to the home, and you can tell that it's all just this kind of vague talk about a web development, business consultant type stuff. So, you know, they say they have different tools and whatnot. Mary Whalen would probably argue that some of those tools have been stolen from her via intellectual property theft. So,
No, go to the. Is this the about page?
Oh, I thought you said the home page. My bad.
Golden is a leading marketing communication partner exclusively dedicated to economic development. With over 16 years of experience, we've completed 300 projects and built a 95% client retention rate. A testament. I mean, like, who knows?
right.
You know that these kind of sites can be, you know, way overblown.
We exist to strengthen
Some of them
communities
are
by
exact-
empowering
I have no
economic
idea.
developers of the tools. Right. It's just kind
who
of
knows?
The
mumbo
odds-
jumbo.
If
I
they're,
mean, it very well could be above board and legitimate. Who knows?
if they're sitting there using AI for their faces, of course they're using AI to write all this.
Yeah, probably. You know,
Like this comes off as AI tech bro babble, which is
right. And like I said, locals are telling me that they write grants, and considering that Kresha is the one being a legislator, of course, he would know where all this grant money is going to be going because he's passing these bills. He's in the committees to know where these grants are coming from. So it probably makes it pretty easy for him to line up some of these written grants for people. So moving back to the story here, Representative Isaac Schultz, as a member of the Republican-led House Fraud and Agency Oversight Committee, has obtained the above documents and more in relation to the alleged PPP fraud committed by Ron Kresha's company. Sources tell A4L that Schultz left with the documents and was directed by Morrison County conservatives to take it to the fraud committee. Schultz is joined in the House Fraud Committee by Republicans, the chair, Kristen Robbins, Vice Chair Patty Anderson, Walter Hudson, Marion Rarick, and the Democrats are Dave Pinto, Steve Elkins, and Emma Greenman. While it may be uncomfortable to investigate potential fraud involving a legislative colleague, refusing to do so would undermine the legitimacy and purpose of a so-called fraud committee. Ron Kresha was reached out to for comment for this story, but did not respond beyond an automated reply saying he will respond, quote, as soon as possible. Action for Liberty will keep Patriots informed as the story develops. And Dawson, go ahead and click on the House Fraud and Agency Oversight Committee just so people can see.
Have they actually-
These are all the members of that committee. They've talked about they've talked about grant money fraud and whatnot. This would be perfectly in their wheelhouse. You can see all of the members listed there. It's a Republican-led committee, and the Republicans are going to have to hold their own accountable within this process here. And considering that Isaac Schultz has been given this information, especially as a member of this committee, it is now his obligation to bring this information forward to the fraud committee so that they can investigate it properly. So I think that people across Minnesota should be reaching out to all of these representatives on the fraud committee, Republican and Democrat alike, to make sure that they are going to investigate Ron Kresha and the PPP fraud. We'd like to get to the bottom of it, and nobody should be above the law.
What do you think, since Kresha didn't respond, what do you think the possible counter to this is? Can you come up with a hypothesis?
What Kresha
he
might say in return?
Yeah, assuming that he wasn't doing
Well,
something
I mean, I
improper.
really don't know because he didn't reply to give comment on
but
this
can you
email,
think
and
of
then he
something?
refused to show up to the Morrison County meeting.
Yeah, it does
So,
seem like that's what...
If he had a good explanation, you think he would have presented it by now.
Go back to the article. You said that this was a letter to the editor by Steve Wenzel.
Yeah, Steve Wenzel had put something in there as well.
ahead.
You might be
Can you go back
paywalled
to
out of
article?
it, but at the
Yeah.
very least, we'll be able to see the title.
Oh,
so
yeah, you know
Dawson,
what?
go back to the article.
Those local papers up there.
And look for the part where it says Steve Wenzel.
Scroll down.
Yeah, scroll down a little bit. Yes, letter to the editor right there in May 2024. That's the one. So the title of it being Kresha must explain, it said something about use of tax dollars. So
Okay.
he's talking about the PPP loans. And so Steve Wenzel was someone who had run for state senate. He used to be a Democrat. He had run for state senate against Wiesenberg. And who was the other guy? The guy that had the Newberger, right? Yeah. So he was another candidate, also from Little Falls, and he's been on Ron Kresha's case about this type of stuff. So
why does that go to Monticello's Times? That doesn't make sense.
I don't know. It goes to that hometown source, so I'm not sure where he initially had published it. It was just something I had seen online, wanted to include, since I think he lends this story some credibility.
Interesting. Okay. When was this presented? Did you say that in the article?
I can't remember the exact date, but it was, I think the Morrison County Republicans had their meeting last week. So it's within a week or so. And a couple comments. Tucker91 says that mother effer ain't real, saying I'm going full airplane lady,
She's
talking
my
about
favorite.
Ron Kresha.
Gomez
and,
something? Oh, she's awesome.
right.
I follow her on Twitter.
And yeah, Brad
leans
Gander
into
says,
that.
did you just refer to Rhino Ron as lizard skin? And, try to disprove me on that one. I mean, what more could that picture have described it as? Tucker91 says, I thought Kristen Robbins was Hillary Rodham Clinton there for a second. And, and we show those people just so people can see those are the members of the fraud committee. Each one of them has this on their shoulders now. So it is their responsibility. They're the ones, especially these Republicans, they were the ones who said that their big victory was the fraud committee. It's time to put it to use. And they need to investigate Ron Kresha because we shouldn't let someone get a pass just because they're a state representative. And this is perfectly in their wheelhouse. They need to investigate it immediately.
Mary Kay says, April coming to my trap shoot on Saturday. Guess she's doing trap shooting at Albany Sportsman Club in Minnesota on 10 a.m. on Saturday.
I'm gone.
Have you ever shot a shotgun?
No, but I would love to. I had a girlfriend once who was on the trap team. She was pretty cool, but I never
in
got
Detroit
to do it.
Lakes?
No, this was in Hastings.
You dated a girl in Hastings?
Hell yeah.
When
I
did you date a girl in Hastings?
This would have been right before this job. I think the day that I got this job,
But hold on, when you got this job, you were dating a girl that you thought would be your forever girl. I thought you guys were.
I don't think that's right. Maybe I told you that, but that can't be correct.
Well, I mean, obviously it wasn't correct, but yeah, remember you were like.
Oh, I don't remind me of that one.
I know.
She took the cat.
She did.
It's okay.
Oh,
I'm very
God.
happy now.
Yes, much improved, huh?
Oh yeah.
And we all get duped. Yeah, I didn't know that lineage there. Dawson, who are we gonna make fun of around here if you're gone? Guess
That's
I
a
gotta
good
go
question.
back to Jesse. I get this. Hey, let's go to this Israel-Iran discussion brought to you by Alpine Cabtree in St. Cloud, Minnesota. I get this. Apparently, I got a lot of I got some neocons on my Facebook page, and I got some very what we would call MAGA cultists on my Facebook page. Trust the plan types, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And some people go, no, what, Jake? Can't trust Jake anymore. Oh, he's turning on Trump. I'm just like, this show is just half me. It's other half is like MAGA Jesse. Like, Trump's biggest fan in Minnesota is on the show. And last night I checked, I don't have a mute button for you, right? So, we can disagree on things. That's fine. I think that's a valid discussion to have. Here's what I don't appreciate from Trump right now. And you talk me off the cliff here, Jesse. I got to put this on here. Just 1 second. I totally did not come prepared here today. Dawson, I'm going to dump this in the D1. This is a truth from a truth comment. What a smart guy. Call him truths instead of tweets, so then it's like, oh, well, he truthed it out, so it's true.
It's almost like, you know what? I'm going to hold it back. Today's my last day. We're happy here.
This is Trump yesterday. Just click on the actual truth. The truth. He does it. Breaking news! I was shocked to hear that the state of Israel, which has just had one of its greatest moments in history and is strongly led by Bibi Netanyahu, is continuing its ridiculous witch hunt against their great wartime prime minister. Bibi and I just went through hell together, fighting a very tough and brilliant longtime enemy of Israel, Iran, and Bibi could not have been better, sharper, or stronger in his love for the incredible Holy Land. Anybody else would have suffered losses, embarrassment, and chaos. Bibi Netanyahu was a warrior like perhaps no other warrior in the history of Israel, and the result was something that nobody thought was possible, a complete elimination of potentially one of the biggest and most powerful nuclear weapons anywhere in the world, and it was going to happen soon. We were fighting literally for the survival of Israel, and there's nobody in Israel's history that fought harder or more competently than Bibi Netanyahu. What the hell is this crap? I mean, seriously, Jesse, I mean...
Peace through flattery.
It sounds like they were in a foxhole together on the front lines.
I think it's peace through flattery is what it is. It's talking Bibi off the ledge by saying you're a great guy, you're a great warrior. The war's over, though. The fight's over. So, it's just words. And, yeah, obviously I don't think the same of Netanyahu, but...
it's just words.
It's just complimentary stuff.
I gotta post something here real quick. Okay, let me ask you this question. Do you have the view that I have that Benjamin Netanyahu is a very terrible person?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
I don't agree that he should be thrown in prison or anything. I think it's bad to imprison political leaders unless they
commit like war crimes?
Even then, it's war crimes are kind of gray area, debatable. One man's genocide is another man's war.
Do you think his actions in the Gaza Strip are justified, or do you think they're war?
No, I think
crimes?
it was he overblown.
Okay,
right. I think he went overboard.
We're not just saying overblown as in
I'm not
he
saying,
said something like that was overblown.
Right, no,
like
I'm saying
he
his response,
overblew human lives.
Right, his response was overblown.
Okay.
That he reacted rashly.
I can't put Benjamin Netanyahu in a good light because of that. I think he's a horrible person. And that's only one thing against Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, I could just be an American that just ignores what's going on in the Gaza Strip, right? And there's Christians out there too, just right. But it doesn't matter what your religion is. When you're a woman or a child, like your innocent life, that is bullshit. I'm going to stand up for innocent children all day long. Oh, they're Muslim children. That doesn't matter. They haven't made up their minds. They're young kids. So, but even if you get past that point, and let's say we're some ignorant American that can ignore that, you can't get over the fact that this guy, for decades, has been trying to draw America into more wars and just outright lies to America. I mean, Iran was on the cusp of developing a nuclear bomb for decades. They're only 3 weeks away for decades. He told us that Saddam Hussein was on the edge of getting a nuclear bomb and that we needed to attack Iraq. He testified in front of our own Congress. This is a warmonger. This guy, in my opinion, is a war criminal. And Trump says this stuff about him. I just don't understand it, Jesse. And and this is where it really gets me, is it only pushes his coalition further away. Because let me ask you this question. Do you think Trump understands that his coalition, his MAGA coalition, actually has some big problems with Benjamin Netanyahu and Israeli politics? Not Jewish people. That's ridiculous. Anyone that wants to say it's
anti-Semitic. I think he understands there's a certain amount of the base that feels that way.
Okay.
I mean, the majority
to
of
a point
MAGA
where it's like
base,
Steve Bannon and Tucker Carlson and some of these
but
big...
the majority of the MAGA base stands by Israel.
Okay, so he's just playing the majority part, because I mean, like, we are not talking about small.
I think it's also his stance. He's pro-Israel. There's no doubt about it.
And he's pro-Israel to the point where he's fine with what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing in the Gaza. I mean, it's straight up a prison.
Well, he wants all of that ended too.
Okay, because it's a catastrophe of human lives.
Well, I
you see what I'm saying? Like,
you'd have to ask him. I think he just doesn't want war. I think he wants a more peaceful world.
Right. So it just seems to me, if that's what you want, this is the last guy you would praise like that. It seems like that is not. Now, I subscribe to.
You don't think he's also talking him off the ledge of attacking Iran? What he's also saying in that post there is, we got the job done. We bombed the nuclear facilities. That was his whole goal. That was always the whole goal. And that's why it's funny that you want to call it a war, and some others I see calling it a war.
Trump called it a war.
I think historians aren't going to write it as the Iranian-U.S. war of 2025. That's not how it's going to go down in the history books. It's going to be remembered as the U.S. bombing nuclear facilities in Iran.
Trump Truth Social Department of War. Okay, let's just take his own.
Are you saying in the history books it's going to be remembered as the Iranian-U.S. war of 2025?
I'm just telling you what. I'm just going to read like verbatim Donald Trump here. This is what's upsetting me about Trump.
It sounds like it's a no then, right? That it's not going to be labeled that way in the history books because it would be an inaccurate description and it would mislead people into thinking something else?
It's hard to answer your question because the history books will certainly call it probably the 12-Day War. What was it? The 7-Day Wars? That's in the history. D2, Dustin. We got a rumble rant.
Yeah, we got
Brad
a $5 rumble rant from Brad Ganser. He says, I stand with Israel so long as Americans don't die. That is, let's see, this is more of a war on Western faith than just Iran versus Israel. So it's an interesting point. You're saying as long as Americans aren't involved, they can stand their ground.
Okay, this is Donald Trump. Secretary of Defense, War, Pete Hegseth, together with military representatives, will be holding a major news conference tomorrow. And I think he says war another time in here. Maybe not here. Okay, well, right there is one. And he says this actually at that press conference in NATO and referring to the war.
Well, sure, calling him
the Secretary of War. I mean, why do you think he's saying that? Because that actually was what it was. It was the Department of War because that was the only time we had the department. Then it merged into the Department of Defense. We got another rumble rant from Righty. Are you catching up?
I need to.
5 more from O'Bannon, 5 more from Ganser, and then now we got another 10 from Righty.
Yep, Righty with the $10 rumble rant says at some point, don't we tell all these people and countries to keep fighting if you want, but I'm going home, you're on your own? That's one strategy as well.
I mean, with Brad's comment, I don't understand what would be the difference. I stand with Israel so long as Americans don't die. This is more of a war on Western faith than just Iran versus Israel. Would you hold the same belief for Ukraine and supporting Ukraine in that war? Because that one people seem staunchly against, but this one it's like,
because there's something goofy about Israel.
Is it just the religion
he's
side
saying
of it?
Western faith, right? There's, what's that got to do with Israel, with Iran? I mean, Russia and Ukraine.
Is Russia considered Western? I don't know.
No,
they got Muslims there.
I mean, it's that's kind of goofy. It's westernized to a degree, but it is the East.
Right,
Russia is the East.
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of people. They got Jews there, they got Muslims there, they got Christians there. They got people from all kinds.
Of they got many different countries under the Russia that are. I mean, Dagestan.
And like, trust me, I get the religion part of it. Like, I understand that. I was just trying to learn a little bit more about what
that's the problem that I see with this whole thing is it's like, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, like religion's blinding us, because I think religion's not blinding us. In many regards, religion is guiding us in a good way, but I think it's a perverse view of the Bible, which I thought was exposed by Tucker and Ted Cruz, that people are looking at this in a very perverse way. I want to say that I want to love all people, okay? My criticisms are more towards the flags, the government apparatus, the leaders of those countries, right? I have no problem with them. Oh, you know what? Did you watch the NATO press conference by Trump?
I saw clips.
Fantastic. Highly recommend. Trump, in a really bizarre moment in history, also is inserting humor and humanity into it. And there's a Ukrainian reporter.
He seemed like he was on his game. He was on his game.
And by the way, remember the guy that was in office before him?
Yeah.
Any foreign travel, the guy's falling asleep.
Right.
I don't know how Trump does it.
Right.
There's a Ukrainian reporter, and she doesn't even say it. She's being professional, asks him a question, and he just like asks her like, do you live in Ukraine? No, but my husband still does. Is he a soldier? And you could see like Trump's like empathy towards her for that. Exactly. I empathize with the Ukrainians. I empathize with the people of Israel, who, by the way, are trying have a trial against Benjamin Netanyahu, and here's some foreign leader inserting himself into their politics. How would we feel if someone did that to us? Oh yeah, we know. We actually welcome Benjamin Netanyahu doing it. We welcome under Biden. We welcome the guy that doesn't own a suit until he does in NATO. Did you see that? He's got a black suit there.
Oh yeah. Right.
Zelensky. We welcome him lecturing us. I don't want these. I'm America first, baby. Screw these guys,
If
right?
Tim Walz and Kamala won, we would have had China telling us what to do.
I know, right?
What do you think that? Do you think that Kamala would have bombed Iran?
Probably
No.
not.
No, they were going to sign another, worthless nuclear deal, just like Obama.
I will say we're 48 hours out from the ceasefire, so let's not claim victory, but also
I'll
New York
claim it.
but New York Times don't claim like it's a failure either, right?
Right.
It's a wait and see. But I will say, I do think there is a lot to be said about peace through strength. No doubt about it. I am against what Trump did unilaterally. I think it's very important we follow our damn Constitution. It's an impeachable offense, but I don't think he should be impeached because I think that's a bad thing when every other president's done it before him, okay? You and I argued about that. Trump needs to consult Congress. It's very clear in our Constitution.
Well, and,
he can't
Thomas
just attack
Massey,
sovereign nations.
Thomas Massey was just on Theo Vaughn. He was saying that he had conversations with Trump, and Trump was telling him, of course I don't want war with Iran. This was a while back. He was saying, but he didn't want Congress to insert themselves and prevent that because he says, I use that as a leverage for negotiation. I use that to be able to threaten Iran, even though we don't actually want that. It's not in our interest. It's not in Iran's interest.
Right.
But you have to have that level of threat there to be able to negotiate. And that's what Trump's argument was to Thomas Massey. So and that's been the argument that I've had as well. That it's purely the threat, and it's purely getting people to the table. And the only action I wanted to see was the removal of the nuclear facilities. And since that's done, and Trump is also indicating that that's all that we wanted as well, it seems as if it is a victory, but we will see how successful that was and what materials still remain in Iran. We got a $5 Rumble rant from Oban. Oban says, Ukraine and Rumble can F off. Rumble is worse than the Vietnam War, so we apologize for the technical issues.
I didn't know Rumble's having so many problems. We are on the cusp of going to YouTube for our premium subscribers. I can't imagine if we'll do the whole show from YouTube. That's problematic because they could just go like this to us. So
yeah, and Rustic Gal is saying Rumble is bouncing back and forth from the Kresha story to the Israel story. So
yikes. Okay, well let's
good.
We do have an audience drop here. All right, well let's end it there. Let's go to locals. We'll do a couple things here and a send out for Dawson. Worst today than I've ever had, says Brad Ganser. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. See, we obviously are oblivious to this because we're in the studio recording it. So my apologies.
Are we doing the giveaway before?
Yeah, we will. My apologies. I just don't. We don't know that. So anyhow, if anyone wants to get on that Rumble rant, all Rumble rants get entered into the drawing for this. Dawson, are you caught up?
Yes,
we have
indeed.
55 entries. Just FYI, when you consider it, it's okay.
55.
You got 55. There we go. That is our thing. Don't do it yet. We'll give people a last chance. Every $1 Rumble rant enters you one time on the spin for this USCCA get home or bug out bag, depending on your circumstance of life. In Brad Ganser's case, it's going to be a get home bag because his wife, I almost said her name. I don't know if she wants to be outed on the show. Well, maybe she wants him to bug out. Maybe she's like, Brad, you just go. I don't really want you back. I'm guessing she's going to want him back home, so he's going to get home. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my list for your get home bag or your bug out bag in here. Everything that you need to survive, which includes calories, water, a water filter device, some kind of illumination, medical gear. I got it broken down. You'll be very appreciative of what I've got in my bag. Wet rain gear, right, for days like today. Puffy coat. That's always a good idea. Keep you warm. So I'll give you my bug out bag list. Plus, I'm going to put something special in here so you don't have to buy it for your get home / bug out bag. This is awesome. Thanks to USCCA, which is also the course that I teach. This is go put up the website, EliteGuardianMN.com. Just on the top, you can see the tab. You can do the permit to carry class. My next one's on July 11th. Also, we talk about home defense. Okay, so you want to go sign up for that, and you get to shoot with me. How fun is that? Premium subscribers actually get a big discount. So if you're a premium subscriber, you get to do that. If you're not a premium subscriber, you can click on Join Us on Rumble on the top, or go to truthhurtsnews.com and click on Support Us. We're also brought to you today by John Galt Mortgage Company. If you're buying a home, go to the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company to finance it. Go to johngaltmortgage.com or check them out on Facebook or X. Also brought to you by Alpine Chemistry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Okay, I think we're done with the Rumble rants. Let's bring up that wheel. This is so cool.
Beautiful wheel. Lovely wheel. It's the best, the greatest wheel.
All right, and we have 55 entries on it.
Yep.
That was I don't even know how much we brought in for Rumble rants today. So that was awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Go ahead and give it a spin.
There's no sound. There could be sound, but
There should be sound.
There isn't.
Oh, Bannon. I think O'Bannon had the most money in it. So that is fair. That is fair, O'Bannon, that you got it. Okay, O'Bannon, what I want you to do, email me, jake@truthhurtsnews.com. Email me, jake@truthhurtsnews.com, so I can get, I need your mailing address, where you want me to send this to. Or if you're in the local area, I'll see you soon. I'll just give it to you in person. So jake@truthhurtsnews.com. Brad says I never win shit. It was so close, Brad. It was so close. You know, I might have more of these bags coming up, so there'll be another chance. But, you know, Brad, you cheap ass, O'Bannon had like $20 in there, I think. So, you know, fair's fair. Righty also had a lot in there, so it was between Righty and O'Bannon, I thought. So
Thank you all very much.
appreciate it, guys. Thanks for joining the conversation. Everything you do. We'll be live on Locals in 1 minute. For everyone else, we'll see you back here on Tuesday. Take care.